statement earlier. Nobody called me on it, which was interesting. I expected at least one person to get pissed. I said you have to do a minimum of 10 quizzes, but you might want to do more. Nobody bothered to say, like, why would I want to do more, maybe? I did tell you to wait. I told you it right away.
I already went to that site.
You already did? You already saw it?
This link.
You've already seen this?
Yeah, so I know why.
Well, there's two answers as to why nobody rioted. That's good. Why did they change PowerPoint? It's fine the way it was. Anyway, here we go.
Better your odds.
Here we go. What are my odds?
No, you better your odds.
All right, but this is it. So here, I looked at spring 2014, last term. All of the quizzes, all my students, excuse me, 123 students. All the quizzes that were turned in from those 123 students. Here were the grades. Quiz average to the nearest whole number. Sometimes we'll give half points and things like that for things that are almost right. So the least you can get on a quiz is a 0. I guess I should have had a 0 down here, but it didn't matter because nobody got a 0. The highest you can get is a 10, although every once in a while there might be extra points floated in. What do you notice about the average grade on the quizzes? If you had to give one number that described where the average grade of a quiz is, what would you say it would be? A 2? Is a 2 what the students are usually doing? Maybe I'm using the word average too soon. I apologize if I am. If I use the word average, what do you think of right now? Mean. Ooh, that's a good word. Mean. What's mean? Means mean. The average. If you had to describe what an average was to somebody who didn't know mathematics, what would you say? The middle. I like that. Majority. Emily, go ahead. The majority. These are all excellent terms. And actually, believe it or not, there's at least 5 or 6. There's at least five or six different means. There's the arithmetic mean, which I think you guys are talking about, the average. There's the mode, which is what Emily's talking about with the majority. There's the harmonic mean. There's the geometric mean. There's the mean. Somebody said middle. That was a beautiful one too. The middle is called the median. Yeah, Josh, yeah, the median, yeah. So if you had to describe, with this they're all going to be a little bit different. What was the majority score that was gotten by the most? 10. Most people, somewhere between about 65 people, got 10s on the quiz. With 9s were a close second, yeah? 9s were a close second, somewhere around 45-ish, somewhere in there. And then it creeps down, a few 8s, not many 7s, and then it just disappears after that. Now part of that is because I have what's called a rainy day coupon for quizzes, which I will talk about, not right now, I'll talk about it later, but that's a try again card. If you don't do well on the quiz, you get to try again. Good, so then we put your mind at, is this Matt?
Jesse.
Jesse, where's Matt? Matt's right behind him. Okay, I was in the right general area. Good, Jesse and Matt, thank you. But nonetheless, the quizzes are very, very, very good. So kids are averaging nice high scores. The 123 students are averaging 10s on their quizzes. That doesn't mean they're not getting 9s or 8s, but they're averaging 10s. That's a good thing, yeah? That's the highest score you can get. Something else to think about. This is going to make you vomit a little bit. A little scatter plot first thing. I did what's called a correlation. A correlation, you heard the word correlation before? Correlation? What is a correlation if you had to put it in everyday speak? Correlation. Please, tell me your name again.
Amy.
Amy.
Comparison.
Good. A comparison between how many sets of things? In general.
More than 2?
It can be more than 2. In general, for this, it's just going to be 2.
Oh.
In this, what it is the number of quizzes that students do correlated with their overall final grade at the end of the course. So each of these dots is one of those students that we talked about in the previous slide, if you will. Each dot is a student. So this student right here did 2 quizzes over what they had to do. You have to do how many? 10. This student did 2 over, so they did 12. Okay, that's why they're at 2. Their overall final score was a 60. To which you might say, what the hell, rule? You just said that the more quizzes you do, the better you do in the class. I did say that, on average. You can't look at one data point and say, this disproves the entire thing, can you? Because I could very easily look at that data point, which is the one that would disprove my claim, but ignore all these folks up here that also did 2 above and did much better, yes? You see what I'm saying? And do you see a pattern overall in the dots? It's definitely messy, but do you see something happening as your eyes go left to right with those dots? It's not extravagant, but Amy, go ahead.
Most people did 2 or 3 extra. 1, 2, or 3.
Good. That is definitely, and some of that's just due to my preaching, and some of it's also due to the fact that students figure out pretty quickly that as you do more quizzes, on average, what happens to your overall grade? It goes up. It's not exponential. It's actually kind of logarithmic. It kind of does this. But a line fits it pretty well. Check this out. If you put a line to the data, this is something you'll learn how to do in this class, actually. Put that line to that data. Okay? Now, this ignores the outliers that are down here. Now, the reason I ignored these outliers down here is they skipped -2. What would that mean?
They did 8.
They did 8, which means not only did they not get the 100, they lost those 20 points because they didn't make the 100. This -4 down here, they lost 40 points. That's bad. That's bad. Okay? So what happens if you take the outliers out and just look at this going this way over here? The line that fits it is 1.7x plus 85.7. Now that might ring a bell for those of you that just took an algebra class. Interpret those numbers for me, the 1.7x and the 85.7. Give it a whirl. Use any terms you want, whether you want to use terms from Math 60, whether you want to use terms from this class right here. Is Christy?
Yeah.
Christy, go.
1.7 is the slope.
That is the slope. Let's stop right there, Christy. I'll interrupt you.
Okay.
Slope. Does that word ring a bell?
Yeah.
If it doesn't, we're going to get back into it with grade very, very quickly. Christy, continue, my friend.
And 85.7 would be where it breaks the y-axis.
Right there. When x equals 0, this goes away. Y equals 85.7. Y equals 8. Good. So, can anybody want to take a stab at interpreting that 85.7? I'll get you started. Oh, but I'm not going to get you started because tell me your name.
Megan.
Megan's going to go for it. Go.
That if you did like 10 quizzes, that your average score would be 85.7.
Perfectly said, my friend. If you, on average, if you do exactly what I asked you to do and no more, the average score for those students is 85.7. Notice it's right in the middle. It's right in the middle of the hundreds and down here about the 74s or something like that. Perfectly said, Megan. Perfectly said. So if you do no extra quizzes, on average, you get 85.7. How's that? Decent? Decent? Perfect interpretation, I think, statistically. There's a plus or minus on there as well. We'll get into that. Obviously, there's a plus or minus because there's noise. We'll talk about measuring noise in this class very soon. I'm thinking by the middle of next week. Who wants to take a stab at the interpretation of the 1.7? What do you think? It's slope. Christy, yes, I love that idea of slope. Amy, go for it. Your hand was shot up. Go ahead, be brave.
The angle, the rise.
Yes.
Okay.
Rise over the 1.7. So is it going up or down?
Up.
Why is that good for students? Tell me your name.
Anya,
Anya, that's right.
it's
Anya.
the rate of increase of points as you go on, as you do more.
As you do more, you're increasing your points. How many points are you increasing? 1.7 per each
quiz.
additional quiz you do. That's on average. You're increasing 1.7 overall final grade points for every additional quiz that you do. Well, that's pretty freaking awesome. That's not an average, right? That's an average. As we saw, there are certain data points that don't behave that way. But on average, the more quizzes you do, the more your points are going up. This does not mean you can turn crap in. There's a lot of underlying assumptions, right? Just because there's a correlation here doesn't mean that simply turning in more pieces of paper is going to raise your overall exam. That's like saying, well, it's like saying a lot of things, but we're going to stop right there. But there is a mathematical correlation if you're turning in quality work that your overall average is going higher. Enough for that should make sense. If you're turning in quality work, what's also happening as a third variable, Amy, thank you for bringing up more than just two, what other third variable that I'm not marking on this graph is also going up? Josh, go ahead.
Your IQ.
Oh, maybe if I knew how to measure that, but how about if I just say your knowledge of the subject matter? Can I just be safer and say that?
Yeah.
Exam scores, I heard that, yes, but they're kind of looped in here. Megan, they're looped in with the overall score. Perfect. But IQ or just overall knowledge of the course. And if you're learning more, you should be getting better grades because I assess pretty fairly. Make sense? Hopefully it does mathematically. And data elite. Terrible word.